Hello, my name is Francis Fox. I'm a trained remote viewer, also an expert in interspecies communication, which includes beings from other planets. Whether it's another galaxy, I'm not, all those classifications are outside of my interest. I'm interested in bottom line. So whether it's this galaxy or not, I just want to communicate. Um, I have all the psychic abilities honed and trained and looked at and perfected, and I continue to watch myself since the 1990s. I have taken it upon myself to make sure that the stuff that I'm saying is accurate. And how do I do that? I say it, whether I believe it or not, when I get information, and then I just watch. And within 10 minutes, 10 days, maybe 5 years, it'll get back to me whether it was accurate or not. At some point, I will find out. And fortunately, my accuracy rate is very high, but that has to do with my level of intention to help what they call reduce human anguish. The Buddha said that you can call yourself a Buddha if you're here to reduce human suffering. And certainly that is the reason why I'm here. I do not want for people to feel the emotional pain that I have been subjected to and everybody that I love has been subjected to. Now, in order to be able to help with that, I had to go through it myself. Um, those people that have been in the dark or have been through very dark things, once they understand that they went through, there was a reason for it, and then maybe they already understand that the reason was to reach out and help others with the same issue. Those are the people we should be listening to because they know they've been on both sides. The tantric monks, the Buddhist tantric monks, are all the tantric ones, the ones they consider the saints. They have very interesting histories that are not just full of light. They understand the darkness, and when they reach a high enough level of the understanding of both sides, dark and light, they work with the dark spirits and the spirits of light. And that sounds god awful, but only if you're addicted to duality, which is what keeps us all fighting. If you actually want union, one, then you cannot be judgmental about darkness. Now, at a government level, at a presidential level, I don't know how you can handle that, but I'm telling you, in terms of concept, in terms of my personal life, in terms of what I have witnessed and understood, in terms of what I have understood about Tantric Buddhism, there's an acceptance of the darkness and a working with it to achieve intentions. And I think that that can apply totally to me because I worked very closely with the Cuban political mafia for decades. I was born into a mind control program. I ended up getting turned over to the Cuban political mafia when the Bay of Pigs was over, and all the Anglo guys went back up to Washington, D.C., and I was like this favored robot. I got turned over to the Cuban political mafia, and they haven't let me go since. This is a little bit of a problem, as you already know. We're not going to go into that. But in being there, I learned a lot. You know, one of the things I learned that was the most shocking to me, even in the deepest darkness, love is really important. Really, really, really important. And I can tell you, and you see that in the movies about the CIA and you're a spy, and then these people over there, they fell in love and they were both, one is Russian, one is American, and blah, blah, blah. It creates all that stuff is really true. All that stuff happens and it really messes up this whole intelligence community. And then add on to that, the US intelligence community is very heavily into mind control, black magic, and they're very sexually sick. Too many of them. You can't send people out in the streets like that. You can't expect them to take care of this country if such a significant percentage of them are so sick in the area of sexuality. And they have no supervision and nobody can stop them because basically that's been the way it's been. So, anyway, but we're not going to get into that because that's a little bit dreary. Let's go into disinformation. We cannot allow disinformation. We are in revelations, which means that all the disinformation stuff is coming out and people are knowing. And now we find out because of people admitting stuff that they have entire committees set up for to stop disinformation, which means they're controlling revelations. So, but where's the most interesting disinformation that I have found, and I've been studying since the 90s on my own, is in the original Lord's Prayer. You think you know the Lord's Prayer? You think you're Christian. You think that you're Catholic, that you're Protestant, and you're right there with Jesus and your people. Then why are you repeating the Lord's Prayer the way it was given to you? Because that is not the Lord's Prayer. Let's start with the fact that I haven't been able to figure out who gave us the Lord's Prayer. Really good prayer, not the version we're taught. No, 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 no. In the version we're taught, you must remain a victim. You have to ask God to deliver you from evil. But that's not what was in the original Lord's Prayer. And I'm not talking about something very hidden and esoteric. I'm not talking about something that is news today. I'm talking about something that has been studied, that is known, and darn, I was going to say, did I lose it? Let me read to you the Lord's Prayer that we were all taught, which turns us into victims, does not tell us about our energy envelopes of consciousness in the other dimensions, and just makes us turn ourselves over to a God, which now we're finding out that some of our gods are actually aliens with superpowers. But let me read to you the original Lord's Prayer, and then I'll stop and I'll read to you the Lord's, not the original, the Lord's Prayer that we have been taught. I'm going to read it real quick. Then I'm going to read to you the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic that did not go through the Greek translation. Don't throw a tantrum. Okay. The one that we're familiar with, the King James version of the Lord of the Prayer of Jesus, is as follows: Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Remember that one. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and power and glory forever. Amen. That's the Lord's Prayer we're taught. Okay, that's not the Lord's Prayer. Whoever gave it to us, Jesus, God, the Lord, whoever gave us, that's not what they gave us. And by the way, they included string theory in the original Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, from Aramaic to English, not translated with the Greeks. Okay, so here I'm reading it. Yet look at how the prayer might read if translated directly from the Aramaic, skipping the Greek translation. This is it. O breathing life, your name shines everywhere. Release a space to plant your presence here. That's the trunk of the tree of life. Envision your I can now. Embody your desire in every light and form. Grow through us this moment's bread and wisdom. And here we go with string theory. Untie the knots of failure binding us. As we release the strands we hold of other people's faults, knots of failure. Those are the strings of the mind and the tree of life. Oh, but we don't get this. Help us not forget our source. In other words, don't let us fall asleep, which is what happened in this country, and that's why people are asleep. Help us not forget our source, and this is the most important line that says deliver us from evil in the one that we're fed, but in the original it says yet free us from not being in the present. Being in the present means not being disassociated. I'm going to be putting out a book of the chapters on the astral body and the whole issue of disassociation, which is what it's saying here, that we're asking the Lord, free us from not being in the present. That's instead of free us from deliver us from evil or protect us from evil. No, it doesn't say that. If you're not disassociated, according to my research and according to this prayer, you're not going to have problems with evil entities. The biggest piece of disinformation was, in my opinion, that Lord's Prayer. What can we expect from everybody else? Next, we are going to get into the map. But before I get into the map that I drew today for the United States, and what I'm going to say now is going to have to do with the map. So remember, I'm trying to get you all to have really, really, really wide lens, the other dimensions. And I also want you to understand, as above, so below. What happens to me as a person has to do with what's happening to the planet. It's all interconnected. So I have, being it that I'm going to be a debutante soon, as in being able to go out in public. I've been actually working on my face a lot, because when you lie a lot, which is, I've lived my entire life lying. If you're a mind control victim, you have to lie. First place, the people around you can't know that. And then you have to lie to the people that handle you. You absolutely support them, all these god awful things that they're doing that you don't support them on, but they got a gun to your head having to do with your kids, your grandkids, whatever. So I'm working on my face. So I found something that's really great. You see how nice my skin looks? Okay, I'm 77. The back of my hands have been a problem for 30 years with all the spots from livers. I'm talking 30 years. The liver spot, liver is the organ that holds the excess of fire, which is anger, hatred. Okay, so I've got a reason to have a bad liver, which I do have. It's getting better. So I tried this thing I had read about a long time ago, which is basically putting baking soda, which they're recommending for everything today. It's miraculous. I don't know if it's just because it's pH balance. And then I put on, I have a liquid dead sea salt. It's a liquid salt, just plain. I'll show you. Just liquid salt. And I mix it and I put it on my face. Oh my God, what a difference. What a difference. You're looking at it. What a difference. It, wherever your texture of your skin gets darker, which means spirits, bad energy, it makes it lighter. So it's huge difference. Huge difference. Why am I talking about this? Because it has to do with the map of the United States. What's going on with my skin? First place, I was holding back a lot of anger, all this frustration, anger, excess fire. What puts out fire? Water and earth. And what is salt? It's earth. It's crystals. It's earth. So if earth puts out fire, and I had, especially here, this is not good yet. This is still, I'm too stressed still. This is not good. If this got so much better, this was fire, anger in my thymus, immune system, this whole part of me. And then I put the salt on it and the fire went away. And it doesn't go, it's not that it's on top of it. It literally put out the fire. Okay, so now let's talk about the map today for the United States. What are we seeing here? This is counterclockwise, which is good. It means grounding. In other words, the country's waking up. It's getting grounded. Lord's Prayer, help us to be in the present. What's the exact line? I'm going to put in the most interesting lines. I'm going to put them there in the chat. Okay? This is from Aramaic to English without going through the Greek. I did not do this. I'm not a language specialist. Here. Free us from not being in the present. Earth energy means you're connected to the planet. You're connected to Earth. You have some roots. You're connected. So it doesn't say deliver us from evil. It says free us from not being in the present. Help us to not disassociate, God. So this is, we are associating, we're going counterclockwise, is we're rooting, we're grounding, but it's red, which angry, and it's tighter. The other days it was looser, it was bigger, it's getting tighter. The heart, and that's Kansas again. What the heck with Kansas? In the mind control program, The Wizard of Oz is all about the mind control program. And you know how they used to put it every year, like in November? There was a reason for that. Anyway, by the way, the training for us as kids were all Disney cartoons. Think about it. It's always bothered me that the symbol, I'm going to say it before I do this, the symbol for the United States across the world has been Mickey Mouse. Do you know how god awful that is? A ditzy mouse? For that to be the symbol of this country? And it was the symbol of this country. So maybe Trump, we need to get out that eagle or whatever it is. It symbolizes his country, and not the American flag. That's all over the place. That's great. Something that symbolizes the United States that has some good things associated with it. Because literally, and I've asked people and they said, you're right. The United States is symbolized by Mickey Mouse. Well, but all those symbols were used in the mind control program. I'm not saying Disney is a mind control program. I just find it fascinating that they use all of the Disney cartoons to control us kids. So you can imagine if you're a mind control victim trying to get away, and your triggers are every place, any store that you walk into, they have Disney products. I'm not accusing Disney of anything, but there's an association for those of us in the mind control program, and they'll tell you that, the other kids, between the Disney, they use the Disney characters, figure them out. What, you got that one with he's got the broom and he goes down to the basement and then he comes back up, he's not sure if it happened or not. Exactly what they did to us in mind control. Did I really do that? Did that really happen? No, it was just in my head. Yeah. Anyway, so we're getting tighter, and that's red. So we need earth. How do you put earth on top of an entire country? You don't. That's when you need to learn the Mantrista movement techniques. You don't have to become a member of the movement. You visualize. If you don't want to visualize earth on top of the center of the country, visualize water, because water also puts out fire. Okay? Or you can visualize pyramids made out of earth, but you can do it through a visualization and a mantra, and through the music that we have that's called Agni, the Fox Sensory Therapy video, because the visuals and the sounds all have to do with reducing fire. So we need to reduce this fire. And of course we understand. This is an awful lot of changes all at once. I mean, even the moderately okay people who don't like change, maybe all the earth signs or people that have relatives that have jobs in the government, they're going to be like shaken and upset. So we need to reduce that reaction, which is normal. There's nothing the matter with it. It's normal. But it's not good because it's an awful lot of people at a time when the earth itself is a little bit insecure and with too much fire. So this is getting tighter. The heart is getting tighter. You have the pyramids are growing. They're red. I don't remember if the other graphics they were red. Florida is still looking great. This coast of Texas is looking really good. East Coast, New York, Washington, really good. That doesn't mean everybody there is happy, but the green is the color of heart and it's the color of healing. So in that area, you've got a healing in heart. In Florida, you got healing in heart. In this coast, which I associate with Elon Musk, healing in heart. Thing that's worrisome is that this is getting tight. We can work on that. These lines are indicative of too much red, and I think it has to do with all of the movements that we're seeing, where you had the earthquakes under the water and then the tsunami, potential tsunami, and all the rest of that, which I knew that this week was not going to be a big deal. I read it for when we were doing a Mantrista chat, that yes, it was big, 7.7, 8, whatever, but it wasn't it was letting us know that things are going to start happening. So here we go with the trick. And I did not, when I do these sketches, I don't draw everything. So if you're upset, oh my God, where's the spaceship from the Galactic Brotherhood, Galactic Council? It's actually there. I can see it, but I draw what's most important to know now. I can't draw everything because if not, you wouldn't even be able to see the map. So it's there. Um, so we're still doing good, but we got even the pyramids are red. But we've got something happening in the center of the earth, which I diagnosed a couple years ago. The lava or that red stuff that's in the center of the earth was always encapsulated in like when a baby before it's born, it's in the, what do you call it, the bag that it's in, the placenta. Anyway, that core of the earth was inside of a bag that broke. So it's no longer a ball. It's like this, and then it juts out here or it juts out here. That magnum, I guess it's lava. I don't really know. I'm not that kind of a scientist. And it's trying to find some release. So we need the stability of Savi Mantrisa saying that the pyramids I sketched before were green. I thought so because when I saw this, I was going to change the pencil. And then I went, no, my hand goes instinctively towards what it is that I want to show. So we have got to reduce the fire here. How does Trump continue to clean up as quickly as he is, which he needs to do it, he can't wait because there's too much stuff going on in the other dimensions. There's no time to try to get everyone on board. There's also no time. I agree that he should not be giving the bad guys the time to make their plans, have their little weekend meetings, such as I believe caused that earthquake off the coast of, I think it was Maine. This has to go fast, but then the reaction, I told these people this years ago, and I'm not sure that I ever did that. I would say to people, there's a lot of changes now, and you're making a lot of changes, and maybe you need to allow your husband or your family time to adjust. Allow them their normal reaction to what you're doing, which is basically pulling the rug out from under them because you're demanding and wanting change. You're making changes. In terms of this, everything that's going on, which I am in agreement with, is pulling the rug out from under a lot of people. So there's going to be a reaction of anger. So we need to start incorporating these mantrista techniques, using your mind to cool down the country. But then you have to also cool down the Gulf of Mexico because it has to be too hot, or these pyramids would not be red. So this is good. Um, this is actually really good compared to what it could be. This is great, especially with everything that's getting anchored. And the truth shall set you free, but nobody told us that the truth can set you free. But the people that were lying don't feel really good about being exposed. And I think that there needs to be some kind of an organization or a group of people that get together, because I see all these people with power in Congress and they're going to sue, and they already put in lawsuits against Elon, and I go, whatever. I think that there needs to be a lot of a concerted movement focused to sue those particular senators that are doing that. And because if they want to defend themselves, they're going to have to figure out who it is that's actually doing that stealing. It'll create a process of, okay, go ahead and sue Elon, but guess what? We're the people. Okay? And you can sue, and we kind of know that you're not going to win that one, though you can mess things up for a little while. But we can sue also, and we do have a leg to stand on. So I'm sure that people are already organizing. It just bothers me because I'm too familiar with trying to do something good for somebody Oh, reminds me too many times in the military, I would get asked a question, they wouldn't like the answer, and yet it was something that they needed to know. You need to know this. Don't do that. No, 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 wait, no, no. You don't do that. And me trying to drag them towards a place of being less dangerous. That happened to me, by the way, in Watergate. The guys up in Washington prohibited the Cuban political mafia, prohibited them from asking me questions as a psychic. Not that I knew what they were doing in Washington, but as a psychic, prohibited them. I was not available. I was actually pregnant, and then I had my child. When my child was 10 days old, the Cuban political mafia came to my home to ask me questions. And I said, "You've already been told that you're not supposed to get anywhere near me." Ugh, they pay so much attention. They have such respect for Washington. Trump, I'm telling you, they have zero respect for Washington. For 60 years, they've gotten away with murder, okay? So what did they do? They took my child, my 10-day-old child, put him in a carton like those for shipping UPS, walked out the door with him in a carton, 10 days old, and said, "Whenever you're ready to cooperate, we will be back." I can see the fury in me is right here, the top of my stomach. Now, why am I telling that story? I'm not sure why I started to say that story, but I do need to send Trump the message that I'm in total agreement with how quickly you're working. You need to work with a total focus on Miami, Florida. The Cuban political mafia are very savvy. They were trained by the US government. They have focused intention that none of this stuff be revealed. And that I'm sure they're beating up on all the rest of the mind control victims the same way they are to me. And I have to tell you that if you're standing there and you've got one of them standing in front of you and they've got a gun to your head, and nobody has stopped them yet, Trump. And they say, "You're going to continue to work for us and you're going to tell us what's going on because we know where your kids are." And then they show you kids of your photographs of your kids and grandkids where they are. And they obviously know where they are. How many of you are going to say, "I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to work with you"? I did that when my kid was 10 days old and they walked out the door with him. I don't know how long it took for them to come back. I don't remember. I went into shock. I actually didn't remember that memory for many, many, many years. So, how many people are in that position today, including me? So, we need to get this taken care of. But one of the places you need to focus on is Miami and the mercenaries that the US government trained, this group of political mafiosos. This is a place you need to focus on because there's too much power concentrated in a group of people that should never have had any power at all. And I guess they're brain dead. They don't understand that they lost this a long time ago. They don't get it. They're not accepting it because they've always had people in Washington, big, big president, big people in Washington that took care of them. And the entire Miami power structure, not as quite as much anymore. But there's no way you could reach a position of power as a Cuban in this country without having made peace with this group of men who don't want just their pound of flesh. They want to totally control you. Okay? So you need to not keep an eye out. You need to focus on Miami. Lots of stuff here. The mercenaries that were created by the US government, one group of which is called the Cuban political mafia. And I didn't put the name mafia on them. That's what they were called a couple decades ago in Europe when they talked about them in the press. And in this country, they were being honored. In Europe, they knew exactly that they were terrorists and worked with the terrorists in Venezuela, but not in this country. Mind control, black magic. They're really good at making people fall asleep not remember, not understand, not see things. They know how to put entire groups of people to sleep. Pay attention. Okay, Trump, you're doing a great job. A little bit more attention on Miami. I'd like to actually not spend so much time on myself. Oh, gee, I wonder what that new wrinkle is because I can't go out. Okay? There's so many more interesting things to do. So we need to get this resolved quickly. Okay. Thanks. We will. Oh, shall we do a mantra? Yeah, we need to do a mantra. We are going to do a mantra. The week's horoscopes are not up. I went on a sit down strike. Nobody's going to pay any attention to me. I'm not giving anything to anybody. That's it. By the way, if god awful things had been happening in the United States energetically, because I checked, I would have done the map and I would have done a chat, even if it wasn't, it wasn't at 7 o'clock at night on the weekday. So, okay, so let's go ahead and do the mantra. Let's do the hate mantra. Oh, yeah, this is interesting. And Trump, somebody needs to look up psychotronic weapons, and somebody needs to figure out how come in Cuba you can't become a psychiatrist unless you've taken courses on psychotronic weapons. Oh, is there a connection between psychotronic weapons and mental illness? Yes. And nobody even knows what they are because we have not been privy to that, because that would take power away from the Cuban political mafia. Check out Gravile. The Santeros that are now buying these little machines, the really dark people in the other dimensions. Oh, the update on Adam Schiff. Somebody must have him under control physically because he has not shown up again. Every once in a while, I can kind of see, but there seems to be something that is holding him back from visiting me. That's the update. That's nice. And I do think we need to ask ourselves, how come we can have somebody that it's already been found that he lied about the Russian collusion? He's still showing up in the Senate and berating people. Why is that allowed? Somebody goes jaywalking, they get a ticket. Your card tag expires, you get a ticket. Did this guy get any kind of a ticket? I don't get that. You give There's such respect for people's rights that when they've trampled over everybody else's rights, you continue to give them that respect. There's got to be some adjustment there. Here's the mantra so that I can stop talking. And of course, I made a mistake in spelling. That's okay. And I can blame my glasses. It's not my glasses. I know how to spell. Why it happens, I think it's sabotage, self esteem issues. I have no idea. Okay, just do the mantra. But first, how do you feel from 1 to 10? 1 is you want to die, you feel that bad. 10, you feel great. And afterwards, you're going to self assess again. Here's the white and gold dress. Whoa, that looks really good. The white is really shiny. It has a little bit of blue in it. Okay, so now let's go ahead. We're going to put on the music that you should have on, and then you should print out a map of the United States. And whatever computer you have this music on, you should have the map of the United States there to reduce the fire. We do have it for 10 hours with a map of the world for world peace. But I think we should Maybe I'll get that done. Actually, I'm going to get that done. But for now, you put it on your computer or on your TV and you put a map of the United States on there, and then you will be contributing towards this peaceful transition with this new government where uh, things make more sense, where you can actually go in and check something out and it checks out, but there's some mistakes, but it kind of checks out, not like going into USAID department and find out that nobody ever looked at that stuff. The same way nobody, oh my God, let me stop talking. Okay. How do you feel? Okay. We just put up our book called Creation, World Peace, but in Spanish, Creación, La Paz Mundial. It's very small, it's short. It's on, right now, the Kindle version is up. And by Friday, we should have where you can buy it in print. Now, the reason I'm not putting the direct link of where the book is because the link is 10 pages long. I swear they do that on purpose. The link is incredibly long. So if you just look it up like that, you'll find it, the Kindle version. And it says, by the way, there that it's free. Um, if you read it right then and there with your Kindle, and then if you need to buy it for your Kindle, it's $5. Well, that's very weird, but everything that has to do with these big organizations that were very much controlled by the bad guys that Trump is taking down, every time we get caught up in any of those, there's always incredible blocks. Now, this could be just a coincidence or not. Um, so, from 1 to 10, how do you feel after the mantra? Oh, yeah, this is much wider. It improved a lot. Okay. Okay. We will see you again then. Okay. Thank you. Bye.